I need to tell you something about sleep paralysis. Something I learned the hard way. It is not always just in your head. This happened 3 weeks after my grandmother died. I was back at college, trying to focus on finals, but the grief kept pulling me under. I had not been sleeping well, maybe 3 or 4 hours a night. My roommate had moved out for the semester, so I was alone in the dorm room. It was a Thursday night, late, maybe 2 a.m. I remember lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the funeral, about how wrong she looked in that casket, how they had done her makeup all wrong. She never wore that much lipstick. I must have fallen asleep at some point because the next thing I knew, I was awake. But I could not move. My arms, my legs, my head, nothing responded. I tried to call out, but my throat was locked. This was not new to me. I had experienced sleep paralysis twice before, both times during exam week. I knew what it was. I knew it would pass. I told myself to stay calm. Just breathe. Wait it out. That is when I heard the dripping. Slow. Steady. Like a leaky faucet. My eyes were the only thing I could move, so I strained them to the left, toward my roommate's empty bed. That is where the sound was coming from. There was a woman standing there. She was soaked. Her dress clung to her body, dripping water onto the carpet. Her hair hung in wet strings over her face, and her hands were at her sides, fingers dripping. The puddle beneath her feet was growing. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run, but I could not move. The woman tilted her head, slow, like she was listening to something I could not hear. Then she started walking toward me. Each step made this wet, squelching sound. Her bare feet left wet prints on the carpet. She stopped at the foot of my bed. I could smell her now. Not just water. Something worse. Stagnant. Rotten. Like a swamp that had been left to fester. She leaned forward, and through the wet strands of her hair, I saw her face. No eyes. Just empty sockets, dark and hollow, weeping black water. Her mouth opened, wider than any mouth should open, and I saw her throat. It went down and down, filled with dark water, like looking into a well. She leaned closer. Closer. I could feel the cold radiating off her. I could feel drops of water hitting my face, my chest. This was real. This was not a dream. I could feel it. Her face was inches from mine when she whispered. Her voice sounded like drowning. You left me in the rain. Then I could move. I gasped, shooting upright in bed, my heart slamming against my ribs. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and swept it around the room. Nothing. No woman. No water. The carpet was dry. I was alone. I sat there shaking, trying to convince myself it was just sleep paralysis. Just a hallucination. That is what sleep paralysis does. It makes you see things, feel things. But then I looked at my nightstand. There was a photograph there, one I did not put there. It was a picture of my grandmother, standing in her garden, smiling at the camera. I recognized it. It was from last summer, but the photograph was soaking wet. Water was still dripping off the edges onto the wood. I have never told anyone this. How could I? Who would believe me? But I know what I saw. I know what I felt. And I know that photograph was not there before I fell asleep. If you have made it this far, do me a favor. Hit that like button and drop a comment below telling me if you have ever experienced sleep paralysis. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe. Trust me, you will not regret it. Now, let me tell you about the second time it happened. This one is different. Sleep paralysis runs in my family. My dad had it when he was younger. My older sister dealt with it all through college. So when it first happened to me at 27, I thought I was ready. I thought I knew what to expect. I was wrong. It was a Tuesday night. I had been binge-watching some crime documentary until about 2 a.m. My eyes were burning, so I finally turned off the TV and rolled over to sleep. I fell asleep fast, but I woke up to complete darkness. The TV had shut off. The room was pitch black. I tried to reach for my phone to check the time, but my arm would not move. My legs would not move. I could not even turn my head. Sleep paralysis. I had been through this before, so I tried to stay calm. My dad always told me, just wait it out. It passes. But then I heard it. Breathing. Not mine. It was coming from the wall. The wall right next to my bed. Slow. Deep. Wet. Like someone was pressed against the other side, listening. I strained my eyes toward the wall, but I could barely see anything in the dark. My heart was pounding now, but I kept telling myself it was just the paralysis. Just my brain playing tricks. The breathing got louder, deeper, and then the wall started to move. It bulged inward, like something was pushing through it, not breaking it. The wall stayed intact, but it bent. It warped, like it had turned into rubber. I could see a shape forming. A head, then shoulders, arms. Something was coming through my wall. I tried to scream. I tried to move. I tried to close my eyes. But I could not. I could only watch. The thing peeled itself out of the wall with this horrible tearing sound, like ripping fabric. It stood there, swaying, its head tilted at this unnatural angle. Then it started moving toward me. Its movements were wrong, jerky, like a broken puppet. 1 step, 2 steps. It got closer and closer. I could see its face now in the faint light from the window. It had eyes, but they were too far apart. Its mouth was stretched into this too wide smile. Its skin looked wet, like clay. It reached one of its long, thin hands toward my face. And then it spoke. But the voice did not come from its mouth. It came from everywhere. The walls, the floor, inside my own head. I have been waiting so long to meet you. Its fingers touched my forehead. Cold. So cold it burned. The cold spread through my skull, down my spine, into my chest. The thing smiled wider, impossibly wide, and it started laughing. This horrible sound, like breaking glass mixed with children giggling. Then, just like that, I could move. I screamed and threw myself out of bed, scrambling for the light switch. I slapped it on, flooding the room with light. The thing was gone. The wall was normal. Everything was normal. Except when I looked in the mirror, there was a handprint on my forehead. Not red, not bruised. It was covered in condensation, like someone with freezing hands had touched me. It faded after a few minutes, but I can still feel it. Even now, years later, that spot on my forehead gets cold sometimes. For no reason. And late at night, when the house is quiet, I swear I can still hear breathing in the walls. I work as a nurse. ER shifts. 12 hours, sometimes longer. The week this happened, I had been pulling doubles for 3 weeks straight. I was running on fumes. The night it happened, I had just finished the worst shift of my life. 2 deaths. One of them was a kid. I was wrecked. I got home around 3 a.m. I live alone in this small 2-story house. My bedroom is upstairs. Usually I love that. The privacy, the separation from the rest of the house. That night, I wished I had slept on the couch. I did not even shower. I just collapsed into bed, still in my scrubs, and passed out. When I woke up, the room was dark. Just a little bit of early morning light coming through the curtains. And I could not move. I had experienced sleep paralysis before. A few times, always when I was stressed or exhausted. So I knew what it was. I tried to stay calm, waited out, but then I heard them. Footsteps, coming up the stairs. Not one person, multiple people, at least 4 or 5, walking in perfect unison. The old wood stairs creaked under their weight. But I live alone. My doors were locked. There should not be anyone in my house. The footsteps reached the top of the stairs and turned toward my room. I could not move, could not scream. All I could do was watch. My door was cracked open. I always sleep with it open a little. I could see the hallway, lit by the night light near the bathroom. And then the first one appeared. My mother. but not right. She looked healthy, younger, like she did before the cancer. But she was too tall. Her neck was too long. And her eyes, they reflected the light. Like an animal's. Behind her came my father. Also wrong. Also too tall. Then my sister. My brother. One by one, they filed into my room. These twisted, stretched versions of my family. They surrounded my bed, towering over me. Their heads almost touched the ceiling. They just stood there, staring down at me. And then they started crying. All of them. At the same time. Tears running down their faces. But the tears were wrong. Too thick. Too dark. They left trails like oil on their skin. I wanted to ask what was wrong. I wanted to reach out. But I could not move. Could not speak. The crying got louder. It filled the room. Filled my head. And then, just as suddenly as they came, they turned and walked out. All of them, in perfect unison. I heard their footsteps going back down the stairs. I heard the front door open. And close. The second it closed, I could move again. I jumped out of bed and ran downstairs, my heart pounding. I checked every room. Every closet. Every corner. The house was empty. All the doors were still locked from the inside. I told myself it was just sleep paralysis. Stress. Exhaustion. My brain playing tricks. I had to believe that. 2 days later, I was in a car accident. A delivery truck ran a red light. T-boned my car at an intersection. I survived, but barely. Concussion. Broken ribs. Fractured arm. I was in the hospital for 4 days. On the second day, my family came to visit. All 4 of them. At the same time. They stood around my hospital bed, looking down at me. My mom was crying. The position. The arrangement. The way they looked down at me. It was exactly like that night. Exactly. The only difference was their heights were normal. Their eyes were normal. They were real. That is when I understood. What I saw that night was not just sleep paralysis. It was a warning. A glimpse of something that had not happened yet. I have not had sleep paralysis since that night. And part of me wonders if it was not sleep paralysis at all. Maybe it was something else. Something that knew what was coming. And wanted me to see it first. I do not know which possibility scares me more. If these stories kept you up at night, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another terrifying tale. Drop a comment and let me know which story disturbed you the most. And if you have your own sleep paralysis experience, I want to hear it. Until next time, sleep tight. If you can.